Chris, it's August. It's August, and more the plate's full, isn't it?
It is something to do all the time.
Yeah. Well, August is kind of like February. We talk about those months outside of hunting season where you kind of get a reset and you got a lot of work to do. It's a fun time. You kind of get that anticipation. August is like that for me.
Yeah.
I know you stay busy this time of year, mostly because it's finally dry enough to get some things done you couldn't do.
It is. But, you think about food plots coming up and, spraying, tractor maintenance, bush hogging fields down. We got a guy down doing some side boom mowing with a mini excavator.
Yeah, you got radio running the mini, don't you?
Running the mini, and I'm gonna tell you, it's
that's neat what you've done. Over time, I've seen a lot of farmers that are doing that more and more now. You get that creep from trees around the field. You start losing ground. You start losing a pretty good amount of ground around those field edges.
You lose 10 or 15 feet, and really, if you think about people hunting, when you're sitting on a lane or you're sitting on late in the evening, those limbs. Shrinks that lane,
Yeah.
So what we doing, about every 7-8 years, you go back and we rented I tell you what I did. I rented a mini excavator. I think it was like $4,000 for a month, and I thought I could get Mitt on 2 weeks of it, me on 2 weeks of it. But as slow as it is, let me tell you something, y'all. If you've ever used a tractor, that's the way to go. We try to give you tips that you use on this podcast, but the mini excavator's fine. It gets higher, but it's really very, very slow.
Yeah. It's effective now. You're good. You can do a lot, but it's slow.
It's so slow. I mean, you're moving up 25 feet, moving up. So anyway, but it does a great job. And plus, it takes back, from you bush hogging and that limb slapping you and you kind of move over, or a tree fall. And I see it all the time. People move over.
Well, even just you start thinking about, and here's a myth-ism. You get into yield robbing, you get close to those trees, and you get less. You're shaded more. You start losing production on that food plot, and if you lose 10 feet, and like the way if it's a long field, you 10 feet by 400 yards, you've lost some acreage.
Trees and limbs are going to grow towards sunlight, and they're going to grow towards
right.
that fertilizer, and they're going to do it. So, in 4 or 5 years, you take a gum tree. Or even a pine tree, that limb will grow 10 or 15 feet.
So when you talk about that, I put something on social media yesterday. How come if a tree's going to fall, that sucker's going to fall in a road or a field every time?
Every time. Right now, I could send a crew down there and cut out trees out of the roads. I got them in the roads. I don't know, Brent. It's weird.
Yeah,
Maybe they fall all over, but they're going to fall over a road.
Fall in a road.
Or in a field.
Yeah. I went to check a spot, kind of getting ready for bow season, and just first trip in there, take a chainsaw every time, cutting trees out of the road.
So what we're telling y'all, if you kind of over the beach and you're over all the stuff, and you're getting time for, work day and field day, go ride your place, because you would be surprised.
You're gonna have some
Unless
trees.
you got small, you're going to have a tree over, a culvert blown out, or something. I've got 2 culverts.
I had 2. I had culverts blown out, trees down.
I got 2 culverts I got to fix, multiple trees down, and we're limbing.
Yep.
Plus, I am spraying, because I'm going to plant a bunch of white clover this year. I've made my mind up. I'm going to plant every shaded roadside that I have, every one of them.
White clover.
White clover. Durano white clover. I like it. It works really well down there, but I am going to experiment with 2 other kind of clovers. Bobby and him's got a clover. I'm going to experiment one side, and Rissa's got another clover. I'm going to try to
go seed.
Go see to have one. So
she's our connection for fixation Balanza. Y'all remember Risa DeMacy? She's we've had her on before. They
anyway,
do have a new blend.
I'm gonna do a lot of roadsides, white clover, but I wanted to find the shade, because the shade, it'll stay longer in the shade, so it gives them something to eat the whole time. So I think that's really an important plant to put for the deer, turkeys. I mean, you can't go wrong with white clover.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, we rambled a little bit. We got what I think is going to be a good one today.
I do.
And it's funny. I'm telling you, it's the thing that nobody really talks about. Yeah. It's like that thing we don't speak of. Talking about dove fields. So this time of year, August, everybody looking forward to dove hunting and dove fields. Dove season is always that sort of official kickoff to hunting season.
That's right.
And for the most part, most of what you see around a dove field is about planting, whether it's sunflowers or millet.
Standing corn.
But I'm going to tell you, almost every dove field I've ever been on, and we fix fields every year, has been prepared like a wildlife food plot where we've top sown
and we shoot
wheat.
Doves. And we shoot doves.
Yeah.
We call it the working
the
man's
working
field.
man's dove field.
Or the poor man's field.
Yeah, poor man's field, working man's field, or the other dove field. And it's not as sexy in the game, in the sort of the habitat management of the land. You know, it's not.
But what we're talking about, the workers' man, we're talking about a small dove field. 2 to 3, maybe 4 people shooting it, okay? Most of the time. And it can be very, very productive.
Man, you're talking about productive. And legal. Here's the thing. Let's go out from the very onset. This is 100% legal. Now, you can't put crack corn on. There's some things you can't do.
I'm going to say this.
We're going to go through some things.
I'm going to say it 4 times.
There's several things we're going to nail.
If you use cracked corn or chops, you're going to get a ticket.
Yeah. And you probably should.
100 out of 100 times. I'm just telling you. If you feel like you got to use it, you're going to get a ticket.
Yeah, and everybody hunting your field is going to get a ticket.
We're going to walk you through the steps of a working man's dove field, a small field, fields that me and Brent and our group, we do every year. Yep. I won't hunt a field with more than 10 people. I'm just
we like a small hunt because look, it can get wild, and when it's good, and we've had some good fields, you don't want that many more people to look to watch and to be mindful of, and we like to take. Over the years, we both have daughters. We both have our kids out there, and it just you don't want a bunch of
it's plus
a bunch
running
of guns.
The dog. I like to run the dog, and you know you can't keep your eye on him all the time. But we want to go through. We're going to go through some of our listeners, some spots that you wouldn't even think about that be productive, and we want y'all to really listen to because some of our buddies over in Alabama.
Some small areas, some small spots. Yeah,
we had one of our listeners call. He called and said, "Chris, you ought to do one on the way we do these dove fields." And, you know, I called Brent, and Brent said, man, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I've thought about it before, but it's one of those things that can get a little hinky and a little touchy because...
But we're going to walk you through it, and we have talked with some wildlife officers. We kind of picked their brains. I pulled the federal regs. We've kind of looked at one plus the other, and we're going to throw things at you. Now, remember... Wherever you're at, you may not be in Mississippi.
Yeah, we're in Mississippi.
Alabama.
That's a good point to point out.
Wherever you're at,
your regs may be different.
Your regs may be a little different, but you know the mindset is, as long as you stay within that gray area, okay.
And some of it really, I mean,
it's a gray area. Now, it's not a gray area when we're talking about top sowing.
Yeah,
and that's what we're doing. But it is a gray area when you start reading the regulations and they say. You can't put out bait or feed or grain for the purpose of luring a migratory bird.
That's right.
For harvest. So you scratch your head and you say, well, hell, what are we doing? You know, we're putting out wheat and
we'd like to maybe shoot a dove over. If the dove eats our seed, we would like to go shoot it.
So you've got to really watch, and it's a lot of language too, and
intent.
Intent. That's the big thing. So we're going to walk you through. So let's talk about locations. Then we'll get into the seeding and the rate and this because I think you're going to be really, really surprised when you can see what you can legally put out. You're going to say, wow. I mean,
all right. So the thing you're doing is you're putting in a wildlife food plot. When it comes to location, so there's a few things that we've done over the years. It's locations where one of our best dove fields we have is that track up here in Caledonia.
Yeah, sure.
And that was a place.
It was just an open
field. Cleared that ground, and I had a food plot out there every year. I deer hunt, had a food plot out there every year, and we started working and putting that food plot in early on that hilltop, so that crest of that ridge.
Right, and we started spraying. We would spray it, and we started noticing doves coming in, and they were really natural.
Yeah, they were roosting, so there was a cutover close to it, adjacent to it, and they would roost thick in there.
So think about a cutover, and this cutover was about 8 or 10 years old. Perfect for them to roost and loft and rest.
Yep.
Okay. So we had that going, and it was on the top of a hill. So let's talk about topography for a second. So for some reason, doves like to be on top of the hill. They're not crazy about being in the bottom. I'm not saying that you can't kill them in the bottom, but majority doves like the
Yeah, they used to
topward.
kind of we've watched them fly, and they kind of follow that topography. They fly
do.
along sort of their flight
ridges,
pattern kind of with that ridge.
Ridges and stuff. And you feel, hey, well, in the Delta, it's all flat land. We shoot the crap out of them. I don't mean anything. I understand that.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, majority of these fields that we got, ridge tops, little high spots, knobs.
Yeah, if you got down, the first year.
And I'm not talking about topography, but I can tell you this. If you've got a hillside and you got a field in the bottom and that hillside is open, they're going to be on the top of that hill versus the bottom.
Another thing is, if you're down in the
shoot.
bottom, they like to fly that elevation.
That's it.
Relative to that higher ground. So if you're lower, then you got longer shots, and
you go from a 20-yard shot to an 80-yard.
Yeah, shot. Even if they fly over your head, the way they mirror that topography, they're going to be high. So fix it on top.
So what we done in a lot of these things is we take them, and the ground's fairly level. Okay, so we'll spray them with Roundup. Glyphosate, 41% glyphosate, you can get it. They got knocker loose and all these different kind of things. But
I mean, what you would do for a food plot? That's what we're doing.
So
wildlife food plot.
We spray it, give it 4 or 5 days to kill it.
Spray it, burn
it. Gramoxone, that's a no, but I have sprayed it, and if you can get some, it kills it that day, and you can go to burn it. So any kind of chemical you get, we spray them. Okay, and that gives us spray and burn. So when you think about something, if you spray and burn, you really need to seed it for erosion control. Okay, bottom line.
Yeah, that's 100% legal
that's 100%
for erosion
legal.
control to go behind a burn.
A burn or a manipulation, cutting timber, disking of ground, food plots. You can go ag fields, hay fields, any kind of livestock areas around silos, anything where cattle are, moving the ground. You can overseed any of those places like that with a wheat or a ryegrass or something. But now, if a dove's going to eat wheat, not going to eat ryegrass. But we're talking about erosion control. So if you you can use that wheat and I may have jumped the gun a little bit, Brent, but other areas, we're going to get back to the wheat sowing in a minute. But gravel pits.
Yeah.
Pond levees.
Yeah. A lot of ponds
where
that time of year. A lot of farmers will be working up ponds and fixing levees, and they seed it for erosion.
Best places is our Mennonite friends down in Knoxville County. They're cleaning out a pond every year of some sort. So when they clean those ponds out, we can seed those levees all around it. So you got, catfish ponds or regular farm ponds.
Irrigation
pools, gravel pits. Pits are
irrigation pools get pulled down low this time of year.
Mining, reclamation, old logging sites, loading decks, all this kind of stuff are areas that can be shot. Now, in the perfect world, we want a power line. We want water. We want some trees they can land in and make an easy shot. I mean, all that's what
nice.
We want.
Yeah.
But a little gravel, a little sand for them to land in. But our
buddies, shade.
Yeah. But our buddies over in Alabama opened me and Brent's eyes because we'd never do it over here. But they'll take a fresh cutover and they'll erosion control, seed it. Yep. And the doves is unbelievable. They kill as many doves in those cutovers as we kill on a good field. It's unbelievable how they do it.
And there's value in what they're doing for the erosion control
There's
too.
no question. And they're deer hunting over it.
Yep.
Okay. So they're
wildlife food plot.
No doubt. They're putting a tripod stand on it, but they're actually going through a cutover, and it's probably been burned, or they'll try to burn some of it, and they're seeding log roads, decks, and those doves, for some reason, they're a magnet to a cutover. But you think about it, you're one and done.
They got cover.
But you're one and done. You're 1 year and a cutover. The next year, it's going to grow.
That's right. That's that fresh cutover.
So it's a one and done thing, and they'll just follow around. They got a lot of land, but they'll just follow around these cutovers and shoot these doves on them. It's unbelievable.
So we talk about some, the things you can do, and we talk some to the intent that you're creating a wildlife.
Hey, one more thing is gas well sites.
Yeah.
Gas well sites are clearings that's very attractive. Usually have gravel roads built into them.
Yeah. Check your laws on
yeah.
surface mining sites like that
Yeah.
about whether you can be in there shooting. But
but you know, you got so we're picking locations. And here's another thing, Brent. Just like you scout a deer, get in your truck and ride.
Yeah,
and if you see
some
doves,
areas have got them.
If you see doves on a power line, they're not hard to manipulate. They're not hard for you to pull them or draw them to one of these sites. But some sites, now you know this. What about the airport over there? We thought it was the greatest stuff in the world. We'd done everything right, mint condition, 4 birds.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, and this year I've got 3 of them. I'll strike out 2 or 3 out of 5. They just won't have birds. It will not attract them. Every site will be done the same. Some have birds, some don't.
But we get a good wildlife food plot out
You
of
do.
there.
I mean, we're going to plant it anyway.
Yeah.
But all places don't have doves. But the places that do have doves have them all the time.
They respond.
They do, but they have them all the time.
Yeah.
So remember this when you're looking. I don't see anybody waste money or waste your time. But if you're seeing a lot of doves, hey, it may just need just a little bit, disturbance.
Yeah.
And topsoil some wheat for some erosion control, and you're good to go. But we're going to talk about the ways.
And again,
let's get into.
None of these things include corn.
No.
Or sunflower seeds or
No,
any of that.
do not-
We're not advocating
listen,
any of that. There's a right way to do
any
this.
of these places, and I'm not saying I ain't never hunted them, because I have, but I don't. And I will
Boy,
ask.
I'll run. I'll get out of there.
No.
I'll
I
get
will
out of
ask.
there.
I will, look, if I got buddies, first thing I ask when I get on the field, hey, man, you got any chops on here? And I may do it like I set up people on this mayonnaise.
Yeah. Chris is a master to make it.
I don't like mayonnaise, and if you throw a dip out there, I'm gonna pump it up until you say it's got it in there, and then I'm
He'll
gonna
be
walk
like, man,
off.
that looks good. It's got mayonnaise in it.
I ain't gonna play that game. But I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna ask all my buddies, because one of my dear friends is a game warden up here, and
got several friends that are close to several game wardens.
And I talk to him. I'm gonna say, what is the one thing that'll get you every time? He says, chopped corn.
Yeah.
Chopped corn or sunflowers. You ain't got no sunflowers.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't go up there to Tractor Supply and buy the game bird seed mix, because let me tell you something. You ain't got none.
That's
of that
baiting. That's 100% baiting. That's not erosion control, wildlife food plots. That's 100% baiting, and it's illegal.
And they're going to get you. I mean, it is hard for you to stand in front of that judge and say, Judge, I just threw out 10 bags of chops to keep my bank from eroding.
Yeah, it don't work.
They're going to get you. And
you can't pile up even seed that you can sow. You can't pile it. So here's some things you got to think of. You got to think of the recommended planting dates.
Yes.
There are specific rates.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And there's some timing involved too. Like you can't go back over the same spot and replant it 4 or 5 times in a month.
That's right. Now
you could do some.
If some
you could
areas
do some strips.
Right. If some areas that you just say that you took an area, and let's say 2 acre field, okay, top of a hill, we sprayed it, we put a fire lane around it. Look, if you're gonna burn, just please put a little fire lane around it.
Yeah, especially this time of year.
This time of year, man, it'll jump.
You're talking about burning grass and you sprayed, it'll run.
Man, it'll burn on Ain't Nancy over there, and then it'll burn, and then you got to call the fire department. They'll run out there with sheetrock legs and everything else trying to put it out. I
thought I was gonna fall out.
You just don't
a couple years ago out there by the golf course.
I know. Here they come, and I mean it's just. And we try if it's gonna be. We like a little spot close to town. I don't know why. I guess they clean up a little French fry over there at McDonald's and come, but you can burn their tails up with those city birds. And but if you're going to burn something, hey, pick the phone up, call your fire, guy that's in your district to say, hey, look, we're going to be burning this field off. You ain't got to tell him what it's for. Just let him know, because I mean those guys getting home from work and they're going to get a fire that there's smoke in there and everybody with a cell phone can't wait to call a fire in.
On Facebook.
They can't stand it. So kind of just
You picking on me because I asked you what was burning the other day?
100%.
I saw a cloud of smoke. Yeah. I asked.
But so once you got that, the ratings, and now remember this is going to really shock you, but you can sow 127 pounds per acre of wheat. That's 2.5 bags. That's a bunch of wheat.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot of wheat you can topsoil legally.
Yeah, but not every
Legally.
other day.
No.
And that's important too.
You know, but
I know a few years ago there were some guys got caught on fields because some of the game wardens. And look, I got this game camera right here because that's a lot of what I've been doing the last couple of weeks is getting my cameras ready. But they use them too. That technology, they can put a camera near your gate, and if you come through there 5, 6, 7 times,
with a
2 or 3 times with a trailer full of wheat, and you're having you can't say you're a bad farmer, so you had to replant it that often.
But I'm gonna tell you something now. If you start putting 127 pounds of wheat on a field, that's a lot
per acre. Yeah, that's right.
That's a lot of wheat. That feed a lot of birds.
2.5 bags,
2.5, 3 bags an acre, and you may get. I mean, so let's talk about the difference in planting and then topsoiling and erosion. Okay, so you can drill wheat. Okay, that's a normal agriculture practice. Okay, it's drilling wheat. Okay, or you can topsoil wheat. It is a normal agriculture practice also.
Broadcast. So
you got drilling versus broadcasting. So I've never seen a good dove field where they drilled it.
Mm-mm.
You got to topsoil it. And
you're the only person I know got a drill.
That's right. And a lot of people.
I broadcast my dove, my food plot openings.
There ain't no doubt. But whether you call it a food plot opening,
erosion
you don't have
control.
to call it anything. Erosion control. You are putting seed back on burnt ground. It don't matter how it got burnt. If a guy threw a cigarette out or whatever, or you burn it, you can reseed it legally and you can hunt over it. Okay? Bottom line.
Yep.
But your stance needs to be, I'm hunting over erosion control. Your stance don't need to be, I made a dove field and shoot it.
Yeah,
because
intent. Goes to intent. And that is legal.
The law is really weird, y'all, about...
All right, so here's
and I'm not saying a conservation officer would set you up.
Here's where that matters.
But his job is to get you to admit that you made a dove field.
Yeah, here's where it matters. You come out there, they come out there to check you. You got 2 or 3 smart elks on the field, or you over the limit, or you got something else, or the first guy they come to doesn't have a license. All of a sudden,
the radars are
it
up.
really starts to matter what you say, and because then everything else you do, we're not advocating being illegal. We're not advocating that you can do this legally, and you need to be legal.
I agree.
In all the other aspects of that hunt.
The way you talk to that conservation officer, it really goes a long ways. You may not like him. You may think he's the biggest ass in the world, or you may have a good relationship, or you may not even know him. Yeah. You may be a visitor on another field. But you know what? What you just said, Brent, goes a long ways. Make sure everybody's got their license on the field.
Yep.
That's the first way to get a ticket is not have your license.
That pays their salary. That pays that puts money back into wildlife, and you're not going to get any sympathy from them or us. Or I don't like that.
Travis
if you're going to play, buy your ticket.
Mark,
buy your license.
All of them tell me, hey, if you don't got a license, we're going to write you a ticket. Get your license.
Yep.
If you can't pay $35, you don't need to be shooting doves. Okay? Now, in the state of Mississippi, if you own the land, you don't have to have a license.
If the deed's in your name.
Right.
It can't be, deed's got to be in your name.
You can't be pawpaws.
And I don't think it can be LLC.
Right. And now...
You may have to dig in there and show that you're the manager or owner of the LLC, but...
You need to check laws in your state, wherever you're at, the HIPAA.
Yep, HIP certification. I think even if you have a lifetime hunting license, you still got to do a HIP survey for migratory.
And they just want to know how many you shot in the past, but they can write you a ticket for it. But you
the point of all that is
talk to the guy.
It matters how you answer questions.
It is. If he comes on the field, don't be swole up because there's a lot of doves coming in. Because let me tell you something, they not fishing to come to your field if you ain't got no doves. Very rarely. If you've got doves, they think it may be some manipulation. They're going to come. Okay, that's just bottom line. Or you got a neighbor that you've drawn their birds off. They mad. They turn you in. They gonna come.
Yeah.
And a lot of these small fields, you'll be surprised. Because after me and Brent started making this field up here, they started appearing everywhere. Because they got to hearing the shots. And I mean, look, we're shooting so close to houses. You can't hide
a good dove field.
I mean, we got people walking down the road, power walking, and we firing down. And there's like, good night. And
Marshall came out there.
Marshall come out there one time. It was crazy. But getting back to where a dove field becomes fun, they're really not fun if you have to look over your shoulder and you know.
No, you got to do right. Be legal.
Don't put no corn out. I'm gonna tell it. I'm gonna say it several more times. Chopped corn will get you a ticket.
Don't shoot them off a power line.
And I'll tell you what else it'll get you. It'll get you a ticket. It'll get you sideways with the game warden, and he's gonna check you for deer. He's gonna check you for turkeys. He's gonna check you for everything. Once he gets in his mind, he's got you. He's gonna check you all year long. Yeah, that's just bottom line.
Look, man, all of y'all listening know this. Now, you ever get crossed up on a game law, it bothers you.
Ain't no doubt.
You get that label. There ain't no doubt about it.
So also in dove season, a lot of people don't know this, but doves, you can manipulate crops that you can't do for waterfowl. Okay? So during a dove, you can bush hog corn down. You can bush hog millet down. You can bush hog ragweed down. You can bush hog Johnson grass, which is a great, man, you take Johnson grass, bush hog down, burn it, unbelievable dove field. They love it. They love it. Bahalia grasses. If you don't think, cut a dove open, cut his crop open, look at all the stuff, and he's going to have grass seed in him everywhere he goes. Mm-hmm. So you can legally manipulate this where you can't do that during waterfowl. You can't bush hog lanes in waterfowl. You can't knock corn down. You can't do any of that stuff in a duck hunting situation. But a dove hunting, they do allow it. They do allow you to.
But you can't go add.
No, I mean, manipulating ain't going there and putting a whirly bird on there and throwing corn out there.
You can't supplement.
If you got sunflower seeds,
yield.
Don't go put. They already know. Listen, they're not dumb. These guys are educated. Okay. Yeah. You may not think they are, but they know that seed head of that sunflower is this big. So they know dang well there's not 100 pounds of sunflower seeds coming out of that seed head. And you go down there and you got 2 strips of seed, don't go put 300-400 pounds of sunflower seed. You probably going to get a ticket because they're going to look at they're going to look at your four-wheeler tracks. They're going to look where you rode through it.
Yeah, how much back and forth, how much traffic's been over that field.
Listen, what you can do, you can sow wheat right through those sunflower seeds.
Because you're planting. Because that's a wildlife planting.
You can sow that wheat right into that hay. You can sow that wheat into that pasture ground. You can sow the wheat into the cornfield.
Into the burn.
And into the burn. You can sow wheat to every one of those places. You just can't put cracked corn and you can't put seed that's not grown there. Okay?
And you can't just do it over and over and over.
And what we're talking about, the timing, look, you don't plant corn in the fall. You don't plant sunflower seeds in the fall. And you don't plant brown top, millet, and sorghum in the fall. You just don't. You plant that stuff in the spring. And
over in December, that second, third, that late dove season, you don't plant wheat in late December and January either.
So
I can get you a ticket.
Scenarios, we think about a dove hunt. We think about these big 40 and 50 and these big after parties. And that's all fun. But the funnest dove hunts I go on is me and Brent and
our little group, Mitchell and
we just
Sherwin,
we'll pick
Dustin.
4 or 5 spots out, and we just have little fields, and we shoot them, and we shoot our share of them. Mm-hmm. I mean, very rarely we're going after the field that has 100 to 200 doves. We're not going after the field that's got 500 to 1,000 because the little fields are small. But let me tell you something: if you get 100 to 150 doves, you're gonna have a good hunt. And look, 4 or 5 people. That's a good hunt.
And a lot of that ground, as far as sunflowers and all, I mean,
expensive.
That is expensive,
time consuming. If you don't have
and what you're doing with your other food plot system, which the ground you're giving up, to do that.
That's right.
You're tying up like you're on a pretty, but all the ground you manage. We talk about making every acre count.
Yeah.
A lot of these places, you got a good summer.
And the wild
summer
thing
food plot going.
Is our farm, we don't have any doves. It's in that bottom.
Yeah.
But we're in the prairie. You would think we'd have doves. Mitt's place in the prairie. Yeah, he ain't got any doves. I mean, very rarely and there's even not barrel burners around us down there. We kill more doves this side of the river in town than we do in the prairie out there. We do.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, ain't no question. And Hunter and them shoot them over there in the Alabama.
And those cutovers, small patches, small spots. Man.
Yeah. Another thing is, like Brent, I think he spoke, and we're not trying to scare you. We want you to look. The people listening to this thing, we're from humble beginnings, man, and I still love shooting. I mean, I remember crawling up on my daddy had a garden, and there was 2 or 3 dove that would light out of a corn patch. And I remember crawling up, sneaking up when I got off school bus to kill those doves, and I had a single shot gun. And I wound up getting one of them. And you know, I mean, it was every day. Yeah, man, it was like a dang cat and mouse game, and I love it. I love it to this day. I love to shoot. I like to carry my girls. As a matter of fact, I'm getting my youngest girl into it now. But productive fields, don't think you got to have 10 and 15 acres. You agree, Brent?
That's right. It's
I mean,
about to be August.
Yes.
By the time this airs, it'll be August. Yeah. And you could fix a dove field.
You got time.
You could fix a dove field right now.
Because you got 3 seasons.
Yep.
You got 3 seasons. And look, you may have a food plot that's kind of sets off on the edge of a big field, and you may say, man, I see doves in it all the time. But you've never tried it. I mean, what are you out of? 4 bags, 5 bags of wheat? Go try it. Those dove are going to come within a week. I mean, that's about our goal. If I don't see dove in a week,
I mean, they're moving through. Like, look, they'll be harvesting corn, and you get some weather fronts come through, and you'll have a lot of birds.
But my thing is, if I seed a spot, okay, and if I don't have doves on it in 2 weeks, I kind of abandon it, and I go the next. Now, I'll come back and check, but most of the time, if you've got a good spot, and I guarantee some of our listeners thinking, man, I do see 10 or 12 birds in that power line.
I think a lot of our listeners saying they're finally talking about what we do. This is how we dove hunt.
This is what we do, and I love it. I mean, I get invited to big hunts every year, and I don't go.
Yeah, and I
don't know. I mean, nothing wrong with it. I just don't. I don't know a lot of the people on the field. They get to sucking them cold brews down and running that mouth and talking about that gun and, Mississippi State and Alabama and all that. The next thing you know, they're out there shooting, and that dude can't even walk. I mean, you can control a small field, and that's how I broke my kids
I like
into
for us
hunting.
to have our own. It's just a better experience.
I mean,
it's fun to create it.
Yeah.
It's
and Brent
fun
don't
to go
know
hunt
it. You saw the shirt I got made, didn't you? Morning Dove shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we got us some shirts. We're going to be all right. But any other, Brent, what are you thinking as far as, I mean, we told them, now you can disc, and you may have to disc sometimes. Maybe you don't have that spray rig, and you can got a disc, you can ride it. Discing is fine. I just remember this. If you disc that ground, that wheat is going to respond so fast.
The soil moisture.
It's going to grow. Now, what you can do, here's another thing. If you've got standing wheat, and it's 6-8 inches tall, you can spray it and kill it because you don't have a good enough stand, and you can replant it. Okay,
and that's the agricultural process.
That's the agricultural process. Okay, now where they frown at, and Brent, I think you talked to a game one too. Where they frown at is if you got wheat this tall, and then you come back in, and they see them forward tracks, and you done put out another 127 pounds on top of that wheat that tall. They're going to frown on that because they're going to say you already had a stand. Why are you manipulating it this way?
Yeah.
And it's kind of going to be hard.
The frequency, reseeding that same ground is an issue. What you can do is if you've got enough ground, you could plant in phases. So you could strip plant a quarter of it one week.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The next week you could plant the other side of it. So
I'm going to read
from a timing standpoint, that's you're better off to do that, and then you ought to go back over the same ground, seeding over and over.
And I want everybody that's got
because that's illegal. That'll get you.
You can go look. These are federal regs for dove hunting, migratory birds. So I want to read a couple of these things. Lands planted by means of top sowing or aerial seeding, where seeds have been scattered solely as a result of a normal agriculture planting, a planting for agriculture, soil erosion control, or a planting for post-mining land reclamation. Okay? So that's getting back to right what we talked about, and I done lost something here. Yeah. So that gets back to areas. All right, so here's another one. Now remember this. Go by this. Keep some, and if you're nervous about it, keep your little some stuff in there in your truck. Print it off. Listen to this. Lands planted as wildlife food plots provide the seed is planted in a manner consistent with the cooperative state research, education, or extension service recommendations for the planting of wildlife food plots. In the states without cooperative extension service recommendations for the For the planting of food plots, the seed must be planted in accordance with the Extension Service guidelines for producing a crop. Okay?
Yep.
So it's very easy. You can get on the internet. I don't care if you pull up Kentucky, Alabama, Mississippi. It doesn't matter. Now I would pull up where I'm at.
Your latitude, where you at, will determine
you
what
at.
those seeding date ranges,
But Alabama, Mississippi,
are.
Georgia, you're going to be about the same.
Yeah.
And think about this, 127 pounds per acre of wheat that you can put out there. They don't like piles. Don't pile it.
No, don't pile it up.
Don't pile it. If you drop a bag,
and I've heard that they come out there with like a 1 foot square, and they'll lay it in there and count. Game warden I talked to, he said, "Man, I ain't getting down there and counting all them seeds." But if it's piled up, it's a problem.
It's a problem. And really, think about it, y'all. A dove don't want to stand at a pile. He would rather, if you watch a dove, they're moving around. I watched some this evening. They're always moving. They're moving, they're eating, they're plucking. But another thing with they're giving you a pretty good bit of rope, because, they say you can, manipulations, okay? And I'm bringing out manipulation. Remember when Brent, it was mowing, crimping, burning, herbicide, okay? Just say that you don't want to burn it. You're terrified of burning it, which a lot of people are. Spray it early enough, and that grass will be gone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you smoke it down early enough, you spray it now, 4 or 5 weeks, you ain't nothing growing there.
Now, it's better if you burn it.
It's better if you burn it, because burning...
You don't have that thatch. You don't have all that cover.
Right.
It's cleaner.
But I'm going to tell you something. I think...
For seed to soil contact is better.
Yeah, for erosion control.
That's right.
You're going to hear us say erosion control more than we've ever said.
Well, I say that because, unfortunately, look, it's legal, but it also matters how you answer the question, because your intent matters. And that's just how it is.
And I'm not saying to be... No, I don't want you to be rude for anybody. But if somebody asks you, and you're by the book, you've sowed out the right amount, you've burned it, you've seeded it.
You're not being stupid.
Stick with your guns. You did it for erosion control, okay? You did it for erosion because the federal regs say you can. And I'm going to tell you something. The state is not going to over jump the federal regs. They're just not going to do it. Now, you may get checked by a federal game warden. As long as you got them federal regs and you go by that and it's erosion control, and I mean, it's really a loaded question if you really want. I mean, it's really silly.
Yeah. Look, now they'll ask you to try to trip you up. Some of them will,
Are you hunting doves? Yes, sir. Did you make a dove field? Well, I'm hunting doves, but I'm hunting over an erosion control that we seeded, or a food plot, or a hay field. Anything top seeding, they changed the law. Top seeding's legal. So guess what? Get the most out of it.
Yeah.
But stick by your guns. Don't in perception, just like when a cop pulls you over a speed ticket. Don't get ill. Don't run.
Don't get ill and don't change your story.
Don't run, and don't let your buddy take off running. But just kind of, be easy. Now, if you got a felony, I would run probably. But if you ain't got no license, I would probably take off like hell. I ain't going to lie to you. Because there's nothing worse than having to go to jail.
Oh, yeah, well.
I mean, that's just part of it. But
you don't want to get shot either.
No, but very rarely they shoot you in the back if you run fast enough.
It's to run off the rails.
It was tough. But I run one time and tore my pants all off me and everything else. Me and another guy. Yeah, we run. And all the guy was coming to eat some chicken. And we thought they hollered game warden. We took off. And it was legal. We was hunting a pea patch. We run a mile and something through, cut over, hit our guns, couldn't find our guns. We had to have people come back. It was, me and Brad Braddock did this. And we tore, it was terrible. We ripped our arms all up. And
what did y'all do so wrong that made y'all run?
We just saw him. And
it's just what you do when you're from New Hope and the law shows up, you run?
We just felt like we needed to run. And like Forrest Gump. And we hit our guns and run, and then we wasn't even over the limit or nothing. And the guy was going to get a chicken quarter. Game warden was, but...
was it Bo?
It was right before Bo got there.
Was it the guy that y'all had chasing the goat around the field? That's why y'all ran.
Well, we got
because y'all strapped a flashlight to a goat.
He didn't know that one. But he come up there to get a chicken quarter, and we saw him, and they hollered game warden.
Oh, I've lost it.
And we took off. I mean, we ran, and they found us on a railroad track about a mile and a half later, and it was tough. It was cut up. And anyway, but we didn't have this kind of.
How did we get here?
Yeah, it was a good place, but fun. It's the funnest hunt of the year.
It is, man. It is fun.
The funnest hunt of the year.
It's to kick off the hunting season. It's football season, hunting season, Labor Day. It's a lot of fun.
I grew up not having a place to go. We had to shoot them off power line right around.
All right, let's say this.
Merrick, talk about that too.
Yeah. Look, y'all don't.
Man,
So my career, my job, is power company, and now not just us, but most rural power companies have gotten in the broadband business, and we've got fiber optics strung all along these existing power lines.
And they're pretty sensitive, ain't they? That fiber optic.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of these signs now.
and I've shown you some damage every year so far. We've been in this thing, I guess, 3 or 4 years now, and every year there's damage and
damage to them.
And so it's not that you shouldn't be shooting them off the power line anyway. But usually, if they're going to land, they're going to land on the top wire. Well, the fiber's lower, but what we see happen a lot, is it's not a guy trying to shoot a bird off of it. It's just a passing shot that direction damages that fiber optic, and it's glass. It can't take it.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, so it's not enough to say just don't shoot it off the line. Look, don't shoot towards it.
Yeah.
Because it's expensive. If somebody got to come out, look, if there's nothing worse than, well, there's probably stuff worse than that, but it's pretty bad when you knock out somebody's internet on a Saturday morning because you're out dove hunting, and then somebody's got to come out and splice it, and splicing fiber is expensive, and just don't shoot towards the power line.
Well, we like to get on our phones. Now, look, I set the record for probably the most consecutive doves shot off a power line, and Brent knew that, and he brought that up to my attention. And I watch now. I want to clip one off a top line, but it ain't or a tree. I mean, a man that won't shoot a dove out of a tree is a man
I'll
that
shoot
like
them out of a tree all day.
I love
but now, don't shoot towards that fiber optic, that power line.
They taste so good out of that tree.
Yeah.
The tenderness, I don't know. It's just they're not mad.
They're not flexing. They're just you shoot them relaxed.
There, and then you drive them down. Yeah, but I just want people to know and not to give up. There's people right now that's probably got some good spots that they've never even thought about trying it.
Here's
you get a couple
something
of your
else.
buddies and try one.
What's it cost to plant sunflowers?
Oh, I think a bag of clear. I think that's the new thing is those clear field sunflowers. Mm-hmm. I think they're $250 a bag.
How many acres a bag plant?
You quizzing me up, but a bag of corn will plant 2.5. So a bag of sunflowers,
close, pretty close.
Yeah, they're about the same size.
I mean, it's expensive, and then you got to spray, and you're playing your time in them.
Look,
I mean,
look, how about this?
And most people I know that got sunflowers
sitting for
doves,
50 days.
They're still doing some manipulating.
Well, let me tell you this. I went to the Delta today to pick up a spray tank, and I come past sunflower field, and they've already sprayed it because the sunflowers are laying down. Mm-hmm. So they've already manipulated it. They've already hit it and sprayed it, and I'm just watching people that'll let grass grow up on them and burn them, and then topsoil them with wheat. Yeah. And, so.
It looks good in the pictures.
Yeah,
it looks real nice.
Everybody likes the beauty of a sunflower and they think, but I mean.
Well, here's the thing. There's a false perception also that just if you go out on a field and it's a field where somebody's done a nice planting, there's a false perception that everything's legal there too. Yeah. I've seen a lot of people do some things that manipulate some standing crops. So
I think you ought to ask people if you're a guest and you don't want to get a ticket, hey, it's nothing wrong with saying, hey, man,
what'd y'all do?
Yeah. You got any corn out here? You ain't got no chopped corn or, if it look, be smart. If you walking out there, you go in your dove seat and you look down, you see corn that deep, sowed all up through there, I'd probably get back and get in my truck. I mean, it's just, and I've heard them say, hey, man, ain't no game warden going to check you. You don't know what technology. Let me tell you something. They're running them drones now. Yeah. They know every field in the county.
Yeah. Especially if you got birds.
Ain't no doubt.
Especially if you got birds. Because it's easy to see where you ride the road, you know where doves are.
If they're running that drone, they know where you're at. Yeah. If they see a big burnt spot out in a pasture, do you not know that they know that somebody's hunting it? So I mean, there again, it's
Be legal.
Be legal. Don't put no chopped corn out. It's just not worth it. And I just think all
Shoot,
the
look,
good
another thing,
hunts-
shoot your limit and let them come in
Yeah.
too. Let them come in and feed.
That's right. Don't just keep blowing them to death. Because most of the time you're gonna get that 1 and 2 hunts, and that's about it. Then they're gone. And I mean, it's they're like any other thing. You put that pressure on them, and plus they start out with 100, and then the next day they got 50. I mean, they know something ain't right.
Yeah, they pick up on it.
And they see a coyote tote one of their cousins all across the, across the field over there.
They having nightmares about that yellow lab running out there scooping up their brother.
That little gimp. But look, that's one. And Brent, when people call us, and ask us to do one, I think
Yeah,
we
look,
need
it
to
was
do
pretty neat
this.
to get feedback from a
it
listener.
was.
That was a good. That's something we've talked about it.
Yeah.
It's just one of those dicey. I don't think you're going to hear many podcasts touch this one because there's a sort of a perception of there being a big gray area and it's not as much as you think.
It ain't.
You can do it legally
if you
just your intent needs to be clear
use your
and you
sense.
need to do it right.
Use your sense, have some respect, okay, and kind of do what's right. I think you get all three of them out of the way. I think you can have a great hunt and have fun and hunt it every year. And what we noticed was we did find a good spot, and it got better every year, Brent.
Man, that was good.
You agree? It got better every year, and it's almost like the doves imprinted on it. And we ain't done
we
it.
would shoot it.
We ain't done
and
it.
then we would let them. We would let them feed. Now
we
didn't-
haven't done the field in 5 years. Now it's all houses built there. And a
wildlife food
buddy of
plot.
ours that lives over there said, "Chris, you wouldn't believe the doves that's all behind my house." I said, "Oh yeah,
Yeah, I believe
I
you.
believe it, all right." But anyway,
Hey, tell me about these, man. These are cool. You see these behind us.
well, that's a collection, and you know me, I got that little picture.
Chris is aficionado for picking and
I love
vintage and
picking
old
stuff.
collectibles.
I like old hunting stuff, but that is a set of Winchester, and there's a set of 4. You got the squirrel, the deer, the rabbit, and the pheasant.
Yeah, he's
You
got the
can't see
pheasant over on the other
There's
side.
4 of them, and they were in the 1950s, and but they're just
That's cool.
They're cool. I like them, and a buddy of mine found them for me because he knew I liked them. He said, "Look, I can get all 4 of them. It's gonna cost you a little bit." And I said, "Well, here we go." But anyway, I got them, and they're really cool. But yeah, they're originals and they're sharp. I guess they would have put them up in probably a hunting store or something like that.
Otasco.
Or
Gibson.
Gibson's, yeah. But anyway,
Woolworths.
Woolco.
Yeah.
Woolco was that back in the day.
All right. Well, look, that's a good one. That's a good talk. That's a good thing. And look, it's like I said, when we start out, it's August, and there's a lot going on this time. I'm getting excited. I went out and
You worked pretty hard Saturday.
took a free look. That chainsaw, I burned up a saw and then went and
That's
I
awesome.
got another one. Look, when I got that tree out of the way, there was 2 more, and then I did a little spraying. It's always something.
It is, and look, we're working on one now for food plots, so get ready. It's coming, so sooner than later. But
Yep.
we appreciate you listening, and
All right, y'all get your cameras out.
yeah, it's time.
All right.
Thank you.
See y'all.
Bye bye.
You said bye-bye.
We kind of